Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's episode, I am joined by a senior from the Holy Family girls hockey team, Taylor Koeppl. Taylor is committed to St Anselm for next season. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, Taylor, and how's everything going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Well, you're currently wrapping up your senior year in high school. So, how excited are you to be graduating? And what's your off-season plans before heading off to college next year?
I'm super excited. It's bittersweet for sure. I've been playing for Holy Family for 6 years now, so it's sad, but I'm looking forward to the future. I actually have my graduation on Sunday, so it's fun. And then off season, I've already started my training with my trainer. I work out at Empower's Performance with a few of the girls I played with. And then a new league is actually starting as well. It's called Summer Sally League, and it's, I believe, every Tuesday and Thursday night starting in July. So
Nice.
that's what my summer looks like.
That's gonna be awesome. Especially again, I've seen some of the posts from that league. It seems like everyone from Minnesota that plays Division
Yeah.
One college hockey is playing in that league.
Yeah, it should be super fun. And then they're getting a couple professionals too in it. So it should be good.
Nice, nice. What's senior year been like so far? Obviously you've probably done graduation. You obviously done like prom and all that other stuff. Any other fun stuff planned? I guess before graduation on Sunday.
No, not really. It just kind of all came down this week. We had finals on Monday and Tuesday, so felt good to get that over with. Had some friend group gatherings and yeah, just wrapping it all up.
Well, I kind of want to start off the podcast from the beginning of your hockey career and sort of work all the way up to where you are today. So from the research that I did on yourself, obviously you're from Minnesota. So talk about growing up there and how'd you start playing hockey?
So starting off, I we had a park about like block down the road from us, and me and my parents would always just go down there and skate. And my dad taught me how to skate, and he played hockey growing up too. He played for Bloomington Jefferson, won a few state championships, and then played at the U of M as well. So it kind of was just always in the family, and I just like grew up to love it and immediately fell in love once I put on my skates. So yeah.
Who was your favorite player growing up?
Probably Zach Parisi. I just loved the Wild, but I just loved him like especially and even more. My whole room was actually themed Minnesota Wild until I was about 10, and I had a big fat head of him on my wall as well.
Nice, nice. Yeah, it's cool that he's still currently playing too. Hopefully it's not his
Yeah,
last year.
I know it's crazy.
Well, so obviously you played for high school at Holy Family and you started off in 2017, 18. So I want to ask you, talk about your first season playing high school hockey with Holy Family and what was that transition like from minor hockey to high school? Because I'm assuming you started off as an eighth grader based on if I got my years correct.
Yeah, so it was actually seventh grade,
Oh
which
wow.
was, yeah, it was really early. So my dad took the job there my seventh grade year, and I decided I would just go with him. And so my first experience is probably different than most. I mean, most people when they start young, it's eighth grade, never seventh grade. So it was really fun. Like, so we started off co-ops with another school for my seventh grade year, and then after that, we turned into our own program and started up the Holy Family program. And so the past 5 years have been that, and it's just been filled with a lot of success. But one of the biggest changes from going to minor hockey to high school hockey is probably just the size. That's a big thing. Like being out there as a seventh grader, I was tiny compared to everyone else. Like it was crazy.
Yeah, what's it like being one of the youngest players on the team too, especially like in the locker room and stuff?
Yeah, it's weird because like I mean, you aren't nearly as like grown up as them. So they're talking about like prom, like we already kind of mentioned. And I'm like, I don't even like that's not even on my radar yet. So just stuff like that. It's just crazy to like you're in a completely different generation is what it feels like.
hmm Oh yeah, for sure. Like I was the youngest player on my team a few years ago, and it was only like a year, so it didn't really feel that way. But I just feel like even that felt like a large age gap. But
Mhm.
like that age gap from like 7 years is like that's crazy to think about.
Yeah, it was.
Now, like you mentioned, and from the research that I did, your dad also is the coach of your high school hockey team. What's it like having your dad as a coach, and how has he helped you get to where you are today as a player? And is what's the dynamic like between you guys, I guess, on the team? Is it a lot different than being father-daughter at home versus father-coach, I guess, on the ice or with your team?
Yeah, so it's not always easy, like ever. There's obviously good days and bad days. We hear a lot of like the oh, coach's daughter, like stuff like that. But in reality, he doesn't treat me any differently. If anything, he treats me worse. Like he's harder on me at times. But no, we have a really good relationship and we know how to like drop the hockey talk once we get home. Like not completely, but it's not coach and player anymore. It's like father daughter once we get home. So yeah, we're always best friends. It's gonna be tough not having him as my coach in the future, but it was time to move on.
You think part of him is excited to finally just be a fan and not as a coach?
Yeah, I think he'll really enjoy it because he enjoys it in the summer too, like because he
Yeah.
doesn't coach in the summer. So when he's up in the stands actually watching rather than like coaching everyone else, yeah, he'll enjoy it.
Now it looked like he was a goalie based on his elite prospect page. Why did you not want to be a goalie? I'm just curious.
I like never really got into it. He didn't really want me to be either. I don't know why he never like even pushed that on me. I think a big thing was the cost.
Oh yeah.
Bully gear's expensive. But yeah, I think he just wanted a player. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I also feel like it's not fun to just be willing to have pucks hit you in the chest all
No,
the time too.
no, that sounds awful. I could not do it.
Now, what have been some of your best memories from your high school hockey career?
Probably just getting the opportunity to play in Minnesota high school hockey. It's different than anywhere else. The crowds are just insane. Like it's just so unlike any other. Like our elite league team has gotten the chance to go to nationals. And just like the big games there, like the championship national game, like the crowd doesn't even nearly compare to a regular high school game in Minnesota. So that's like a big thing. That's awesome as you walk out and you see that crowd. And obviously just being a successful team, no one likes losing. And celebrating in the locker room after. Those are just memories you'll never forget.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, you played with some amazing players during your time at Holy Family. You played with Madison Kaiser, who's currently with Minnesota, and you also played with Sedona Blair, who's committed to UNH next year, just to name a few. What was it like having players like that as teammates, and how does it make you a better hockey player?
Yeah, so I've actually played with them, I think since I was 8 and probably 9 with both of them. I played with Maddie Kaiser in the summer for it was called Team Minnesota, and both of our dads coached. So we grew up being pretty good friends. And then she transferred to Holy Family her junior year. And then her senior year, she could actually play, like her eligibility was cleared. So, and then we were line mates. So it was super fun. Like we clicked instantly again. And yeah, we had a pretty successful year together. And then Sedona, I've played with her since I was 8 in association and summer hockey. We've been best friends. She lives just down the street from me. So we're like, there's not a day that we're not together pretty much. So, but yeah, it's always fun being pushed by such great players. Maddie's always practicing as hard as she plays, which helps. So yeah.
And obviously, you and Sedona are going to be at New Hampshire next year, so that's kind of nice that you guys are still going to be close to one another, even in
Yeah.
college.
Yeah, it's brought up every day, like 45-minute drive. So that's nice.
Yeah, and obviously Madison Kaiser, she's one of the best players in USA hockey. She won a silver medal with the U18 team. So how nice is it to have a player like that just feeding you the puck all the time?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. You just watch her zoom by and you're like, wow, it's just a different speed. But yeah, it's super fun.
Now, like before this season, one thing I found interesting, and especially with your class, is you guys had to face a lot of challenges due to the pandemic. How have you handled the challenges of COVID, and how do you think it's made you a better hockey player throughout your development, especially with all the setbacks and challenges and restrictions that you've had to face? Because I think a lot of people forget about that. Like pretty much
Yeah.
there were some games where fans weren't allowed, some games were sort of inconsistent because some of them got postponed or canceled. And I just feel like that's hard during a time where you're just trying to get better and play because I feel like the best way to develop is just by playing games, even when you're not playing that well, because you sort of have to play through it. And it's hard to do that when there's a lot of uncertainty with the world that we were in at that time.
Yeah, no, it was tough for sure, but we just had to keep a positive attitude. We couldn't feel sorry for ourselves because everyone was going through it at the time. There was games being canceled left and right, rescheduling, like it was super stressful, but it was, yeah, there was a lot of development coming out of it, I'd say, because with the 2-month delay on our season, we had to find ice somehow. So it was just like as much as private lessons that you just go and work out on skills. So I'd say in that year, my skills got a lot better just from trying to find ice, and that's all you can find. And then not necessarily just in the hockey world did it change my development, but also just as a person, like the lookout on my life. Like I just had to really look for the positivity and everything. And I think that's helped my life a lot.
What do you think were some of the positive things that you took away from that? Because I took away just being grateful for hockey because I feel like a lot of times, at least before the pandemic, I sort of took hockey for granted. And now, like, I don't take it for granted as much as I used to just because it can be taken away from you, like, in a snap of a finger. And I never really realized that could happen up until that point. And now, well, coming back and finally playing, it was like really cool to sort of just appreciate getting the chance to be a player again on the ice, sort of being with your teammates because all those little things you just sort of don't realize how important and how cool they are until it's gone.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was hard to see the positives, but still like being able to be out on the ice with your teammates, still, I mean, we didn't necessarily get to get ready in the locker room, but we just had to like we actually had to get ready at our school because there was more distancing there. I don't know, but we faced all those challenges together. So we saw it as like, I think our friendships all grew closer because we just had to all like keep lifting each other up. But yeah, for sure, I felt like I took hockey for granted before all this happened because then all of a sudden it was gone. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with my life? Like, I don't
Yeah.
have anything else to do.
Now, just like you mentioned before, just talk a little bit about the Minnesota high school hockey scene and what's it like being a player in that atmosphere. Because it's hard for a lot of people who aren't from Minnesota just to sort of understand what it's like. Like most places, you sort of have to like move away from home at a young age to sort of to advance your hockey career and to get noticed by schools. Well, where you're from, you can play for your hometown high school and still get noticed by colleges and get to play against really good competition. And obviously, you guys sell at the XL Energy Center for a high school hockey game, which is unheard of. So, what's it like sort of being a player in that atmosphere and just talk about how unique the high school hockey scene is in Minnesota?
Yeah, so as I did mention, like our section final game, we had a couple thousand people there. We filled out a smaller rink, but it was still super fun. Like you just come on the ice, you feel that energy, and it just gets you going. Like you don't want to disappoint anyone out there, so it's super fun. And then I actually never got the chance to play in the state tournament, but still just going and watching, like you mentioned, yeah, the boys sell it out every year. Like you're looking at tickets and they can be up to like $200 on like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, and you're like, that's insane just for like high school hockey. But yeah, it's just so fun. Like going to watch those games, it gets so loud in there. And but yeah, for sure playing in front of the crowd is just something like you'll never get anywhere else. And yeah, it's super fun.
Now, I don't know if you've had the chance to play with players outside of Minnesota, but is it weird talking to them what it's like, just in how different their experience is compared to yours?
Yeah, like they just it's nothing like ours. Like they all like go to boarding schools, they sleep in dorms, like we're all just like, oh, like I'm driving home from practice tonight, like sleeping in my own bed with my parents. Like it's
Yeah.
completely different. And they're basically in college, but in high school.
Yeah, no.
It's
I like
weird.
I wish most places did it like Minnesota because I think it's just I like the community camaraderie that takes place and just sort of the rivalries. I feel like it makes it just that sort of whole aspect of it makes it a lot more fun. It doesn't feel like sort of like the one thing that I think college hockey is better than pros is sort of just the student sections, the whole like
Mhm.
pop and circumstance of it, where the NHL is a lot of just like feels like it's just like sort of going day by day, if that makes sense. And I feel
Yeah.
like for Minnesota high school hockey, it's sort of similar to college hockey in that aspect of things
Yeah, for
compared
sure.
to like other places in the country.
Yeah, like you said, the rivalries are insane. Like they just build up over years and the student sections get going after each other. And it's just like you look forward to that and you have to keep your head on the game, but all you want to do is like be hearing what they're saying and everything.
What's Holy Family's biggest rival?
Um, I'd say probably Minnetonka, just because we face them every year to go to the state tournament and we've never beat them, unfortunately. They're a talented team. But yeah, it's been close. It's always fun. A lot of friends on that team.
And I also heard about the all hockey hair team in Minnesota. That's something that makes the high school hockey scene unique. Why don't they do one for girls hockey?
I don't know. Every once in a while, they'll throw in like a girl for an honorable mention, but
Yeah.
I don't know because some of the girls' hairs gets pretty wild.
Who would you say has the best hair on your Holy Family?
we all have pretty like boring hair. Like it's all just pretty stick straight. But a couple years back, Maddie Kaiser, when she would let her curls go, her curls were pretty good.
Yeah, you got to do the if I feel like if you guys made the XL Energy Center when they announced the starting lineups, I feel like you got one of you guys would have made it in because you could have done like that hair flip when they announced the starting
Yeah,
lineups. I feel like that would have helped out a lot.
yeah, for sure.
Now, getting back to your career a little bit, what do you think's like been the biggest improvement you've made to your game this past season that's going to help you out heading into college next year?
Probably this past year I've seen like in my game, I've been having more patience rather than just throwing the puck, like not being as hesitant. So I'm always like looking for a few options rather than just looking at the first one and doing that. So I'd say that's probably the biggest improvement this year.
And how do you think your high school hockey experience is helping prepare you for college hockey?
Probably just like the competitions I've gotten to face up against in elite league and high school hockey, just like it's such high intensity and that's just like preparing me for my futures. I had how I see it. And back to my seventh grade year, seeing that size difference being so small compared to like the bigger girls, I see that as an advantage for next year because I'm going to be one of the smaller ones out there again. I mean, I'm not tall
Hmm.
by any means. So I think that for sure has helped me.
Now, for college hockey fans that have never seen you play before, just describe your game to them and what can St. Anselm fans expect when they watch you play.
I'd say I'm a super unselfish player. My coaches actually get on me for it sometimes, like that I need to stop passing the puck so much. But I'm always looking for that pass, looking to set people up. I use my body a lot. Like I'm very aggressive and most of all, a 200-foot player. Like
Hmm.
I'm very active in the D zone and the offensive zone.
Well, using the body a lot definitely helps you out in college because it's definitely a more physical game. So that's one
Yeah,
advantage that you might have.
for sure.
Now, I do want to ask you about your recruiting process since this is a college hockey podcast after all. So, talk about your recruiting process with St. Anselm and what made you want to go there versus other schools you might have looked at.
So I looked at a few different schools, but I instantly, like ever since I started traveling for hockey when I was younger, knew I wanted to be on the East Coast at some point. I just loved St. A's. I love the coaches. I love the players. It just felt like a really good like home for me, and most of all, the smaller school because it's pretty much just Holy Family, but like bigger.
Hmm.
So that's what I really like about it is just the small school atmosphere. Like I've just grown up in it, so it's all I know, and I love it.
Have you been watching any St. A's hockey this year? And have you had the chance to meet any of your future teammates that are on the team?
Yes, I have been watching. Me and my parents are always on the couch. We put it on the TV, watch as much as we can. And then I went out back in October for my official visit, and I got to watch two games. And I met most of the girls as well, so that was super fun. And then I've also had the opportunity to meet some of the other commits. Most of them are on the East Coast, but Courtney Stagman, she's a goalie from here. She'll be going in with me as well.
That's awesome. And there's some Minnesota girls on that team. Like I know Tyra Turner and
Yeah,
Claire Kuipers are all from Minnesota. So it's
yeah,
you got a little Minnesota, at least back home or back at St. A's with you.
yeah, for sure.
And obviously, they were one win away from making the national tournament. So, how excited are you to sort of help that team make that next step as a program?
Yeah, very. I'm hoping we can make it. I see us as a pretty strong team next year, so I think we can do it.
Now, what do you think is going to be the biggest adjustment you have to make to college hockey? Like you mentioned, as a seventh grader, you sort of understand what that adjustment's going to be like with the physicality and being one of the younger players in the team and just the speed of the game as well. But is there any other thing that you're sort of trying to figure out to be more aware of when you finally start playing games as an NCAA player?
Probably just like pretty much what you mentioned, the size and the speed. Just making sure I'm working up to that and like you don't have as much time on the puck as well. Like every college hockey game I watch, like they have the puck for like 3, 4 seconds at the most and it's off their stick. So that's a big thing is like you got to know the next play. You got to be seeing ahead of what's going on.
Now, what are you the most excited about when thinking about playing college hockey next year?
Probably just playing at a higher level. Like I've always grown up watching D1 girls hockey, so it's cool to actually be a part of it. And for sure seeing my friends like every weekend I'm going to play against different teams. Like I've friends on most teams out there, so it's kind of like home away from home. You're still playing against them all, and just seeing like who I click with next year, like who my new line mates are gonna be. Yeah, and as you mentioned, see how far we can get, see if we can make it to our goal.
Now, what are your team's goals and expectations for next year? And do you have any individual goals as well for next season?
Well, for team, make it to the NCAA tournament for sure. And then individual, I think I just need to continue to work hard every day, do the extra stuff, and I'll get to where I want to be.
Now, one more question before we get to the non-hockey segment is obviously your high school hockey career is finished. So what's like something you'll look back on most fondly when you look back on it now?
Um, well, I'll just miss like you come to the rink every day and you're there every single day. So and even like in the hallways at school, like you're such a close team that it's literally like family. And like you just see each other in classes in school. But I guess, I mean, I'll have that in college as well, but it's just different. Like you're at that age where it's just like so fun.
Hmm.
So, in the locker room for sure.
Yeah. Any good locker room stories that you can share?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, just basic dance parties, before
Nice.
games, after games.
Who would you say is the best dancer on the team?
Oh God. I don't know. Probably, I don't know. Mael Shugel has some moves. She's a sophomore.
Nice. Well, we're
Yeah.
now in a segment I like to call the non-hockey segment, where I ask you some non-hockey questions just to get to know you a little bit more off the ice. First one is, what music do you like to listen to?
I enjoy rap and country. I really like country when it comes to summer, just
Yeah,
being on the boat, whatever. This past weekend I actually went to the Luke Combs concert, so that was super fun.
nice. Was he good live?
Yeah, he was super good live, and it was in the US Bank Stadium, so it was huge. So it was
Yeah,
super cool atmosphere.
that's awesome. Yeah, I've never been to a country concert before, so I can't say what that's like, but I do like every type of genre of music just because I'm not someone that can listen to one specific genre of music. So I don't, I feel like that's just gets boring after a while. So I just have a playlist for every genre of music. So whatever mood I'm into, I just go to that one. But definitely like country, but probably mostly hip hop and rock, if I had to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Now, what is your most embarrassing hockey moment?
Um, Probably back in 8Us, we were in a tournament up in Duluth for our like winter team. And at this point, I hadn't had glasses or contacts yet. And I shot a puck from like the hash marks near the boards on net. And I was just gonna like go continue to play, but all my teammates like came up to me celebrating, and I just had no idea I scored because I couldn't see.
Oh,
So at that point, my parents knew like, yeah, it was time to bring me to the eye doctor. And a couple weeks later, I had sports goggles. So that was a interesting time, not being able to see anything.
yeah. Do you still wear sports goggles on the ice? I don't see many hockey players wear those.
No, I got rid of those in probably 10 years once I could finally put my contacts in. So,
I feel like you gotta bring that look back once next season. I think that'll be pretty cool.
yeah, it'd be funny.
Now, let's talk about some of your teammates at Holy Family. Who's the funniest on the team? Please, from your time there, you can. It doesn't have to be this year's team. It could just be anybody.
Um, Probably, when I was a freshman, two seniors that were super funny were her name's Lauren Hickey and Caitlin Rock. They're not playing hockey anymore, but they just always had like fun stuff to say, always had a smile on their face, always made you laugh in any circumstance. And then this past year, probably Sedona Blair and Casey Cronin, they sat by each other in the locker room, and you just look over at them and they're always goofing off. Like, always know how to make you laugh.
Who had the best style on the team? I would say you probably had the best style on the team, but besides yourself, who had the best style during your time with Holy Family?
This is a tough one. I'd probably go with Ella Knutson. She just had super good shoe game.
Hmm.
Like always had new shoes every week, it feels like. And yeah, she has good shoe game. She's going to LIU next year. So she's one of those people that I'll be seeing.
Good rivalry for next year.
Yeah.
I have a question. So obviously, when you play your former teammates, in college, will there be any trash talking going wrong, or is it sort of just like you try to like not think about them at all?
I feel like you just try not to think about it until like after the game and then you talk to them just like they're your friends again. But I'm not sure. I've never really had to like deal with that.
I feel like I would probably say something like snarky to them just to like try to get them off their game a little bit, just because, I'm kind of a pest like that. So,
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I don't know what my tactics will be yet.
yeah. Well, what is the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
Oh, this past week I've been taking finals, so I haven't been on my phone and out and about as much. But recently on TikTok, I've been watching like these 3-minute clips of like police movies or like hospital clips, and I've been super into those recently. I don't know why, but
Yeah. I
those have
think
been
for
fun.
me, the two things that I found the most interesting were one, I saw a video about presidents' last words, like before they passed away. I don't know why, I just found it interesting hearing what certain presidents said. And then I also thought the Arizona Coyotes arena situation was also pretty interesting and like how they're trying to figure that out and whether they will relocate or not. So I hope it works out there. I want hockey to do well in Arizona for some reason. I might be in the minority in that, but I just think it's a cool area. And I think it's good for the sport to try hockey in different spots instead of like the sort of traditional hockey markets like people would think of.
Yeah, for sure. I think it'd be super cool if like obviously Arizona State has a men's team and they have
Mhm.
women's club, but I think it'd be super cool if they could get a D1 girls team over there.
I feel like they could because the club team's pretty nasty from what I've
Yeah.
been told.
Yeah, they are. So who knows?
We'll see what happens with that. But if you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
This is a tough one. Probably just Drake, just to like get to know him. I've always heard he's a good guy, so I don't know. Maybe talk to him about what got him into music and hear all of his reasonings and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's be cool. I feel like every Drake conversation though turns into a meme at some point.
Yeah, true.
So I'm interested to see which part of that conversation will be turned into a meme.
Yeah.
I think for me, probably like Tom Brady, just because he's probably one of the best athletes of all time and one of the most successful athletes of all time. So hearing sort of like, and just this story about how he was like a sixth round draft pick and sort of becoming like one of the most successful athletes of all time, I think is pretty cool. So I would say him.
Yeah, that'd be interesting too.
Well, getting back to some hockey questions now. First one is, what should be done to help grow women's hockey from your perspective? I think what you're doing in the Summer Celly League is a huge help, but I also think it's important to sort of try to get women's hockey in different areas of the country, outside of sort of the traditional markets like Minnesota, Massachusetts, and Michigan. So, what are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, I feel like it's actually going in a pretty good direction right now with like the professional stuff growing. They're starting to get more money. So I just feel like the more we continue to support and donate, I think it'll just continue to grow. I mean, you got to start showing up to those things to continue the growing. So that for sure.
And for all the younger people listening to this pod, what advice would you give them on what it takes to be a college hockey player like yourself?
Probably just to never give up, even when times do get hard. Like you always just got to power through. One of the biggest things is hitting the weight room because you got to be strong no matter who you are. And one of the biggest things is people always think it's like, oh, they're watching now. I have to work super hard. But it's actually like what people don't see that matters the most. So it's like those 8 a.m. lifts that you go do before a big day that like no one's going to see, but that's what's going to give you success in your future.
Well, do you have any shout outs you want to give to your teammates, family members, or friends? And who should we have on the podcast next?
Probably just my dad once again, just for everything he's done for me. And then shout outs or for who to be on the podcast next, probably Maeve Kelly. She goes to Boston University. She went to Holy Family as well. Or Sedona Blair, who's going to UNH.
Well, thank you so much, Taylor, for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. It means so much to myself. And I wish you all the best for your first year in college hockey. I know you're going to do great. And I wish you and your team nothing but the best for next season as well. I know that you're definitely going to have an opportunity to make your first NCAA tournament appearance. So best of luck for you guys in the pursuit of that.
All right, thank you so much.